So we are going to do our absolute dead level best, because we care about the country, not to incite paranoia or fear. But we're going to be as honest as we possibly can about what we're seeing, because that's our obligation. On election night, early returns show that the president has a significant lead in the states of Georgia and Pennsylvania. 2 days later, we are still counting votes and awaiting the results in those states. Why? Why did a bunch of different states shut down voting on election night? These aren't crackpot questions. These are totally legitimate questions, and most people have not heard the answers. Michael Anton has written a fantastic column on this topic. He's the author of The Stakes, America at the Point of No Return. We're happy to have him on tonight. Michael Anton, thanks so much for coming on. You're, among other things, a historian. I know that you care about our system more than any single politician. All of us, I think, should feel that way. It does seem like people have legitimate concerns about whether the system is working fairly. Tell us what your concerns are.
Some of the ones that you mentioned. Why was voting stopped in 5 or 6 states? I think it was actually 5 states and 6 cities for 4 hours. You know, why are ballots showing up? I mean, mail-in voting, it has a lot of problems. Some obvious ones. You send ballots out to everyone. You never know who actually receives the ballot. And when they come back, you could be sending them to people who have died without knowing it. You could be sending them to people who have moved from the state. So that already has a problem. But there should be one advantage, right? If these things are mailed in, presumably some of them will come in late, but wouldn't most of them be coming in months or weeks ahead of time? So why are we finding big tranches of ballots hours and in some cases even more days after the polls have closed? Shouldn't mail-in ballots already be there somewhere ready to be counted? And your point is exactly the right one. These are questions. They deserve investigations and answers, transparent answers. And when all we get back is, shut up, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're attacking the integrity of our democracy, that doesn't give anybody confidence in the integrity of the system. It makes you suspect that something fishy is going on.
Well, I mean, I would say that censorship and silencing legitimate questions is itself an effort to undermine the legitimacy of our democracy. Who's undermining the democracy? Right. Who's destroying the public's faith in the system? It's not us.
Right. No, definitely not. And look, I would say this. I think the person, ironically, one of the people who will be harmed by this, if this continues and this plays out the way it's looking right now, will be Joe Biden, to be perfectly honest. If I were Joe Biden, and I were convinced I won, and I won, comfortably or at least handily in a number of states, and an accurate count would show that, I would be saying to everyone in my party, everyone in my campaign, I would be saying this to all the state elected officials and non-elected officials who are in charge of vote counting: be transparent, be open. Let both sides examine this process and see what's going on, because I want the American people, the whole American electorate, including Donald Trump's 67 million voters, I want them all to be convinced that this was fair and that I won legitimately, so that I can govern with the full confidence of the American people in the system. That's what I would want if I were Joe Biden.
Well, because you care about having the confidence of the American people, because you believe in democracy. But people who believe in ruling by force don't really care what voters think, because they're going to make them obey regardless. And that's maybe the difference between you and them.
And it suggests...
Go ahead. Please finish.
Yeah. No, but it suggests that they must not have total confidence that if there were a completely fair count, and if all of these questions were addressed and the anomalies addressed, they must be worried that they wouldn't win. Otherwise, they would be throwing open the books and saying, the president mentioned this and others have mentioned it. There are places where votes are being counted where they've literally taped paper in the windows so that people can't look inside. People who think they won, that want a fair accounting, they wouldn't do that.
That's